Time is so hard to grasp and so hard to come to terms with. When you look at it in the moment, it feels kinda slow and as if it would last forever, but when you look back at it, it feels as if it went by in the blink of an eye. Usually whenever I have a goal or when I'm truly looking forward to something, and when that thing finally occurs, or let's say that goal that I have is reached, the day after always proceeds to begin, and it's almost as if I forgot that there's a time after that thing has happened. It's like I forgot about the fact that life goes on and time keeps ticking. For a long time of my life, I've fooled myself into thinking that life is longer than it actually is. And I guess I just lacked perspective. And I'm not blaming myself. I think that everybody from growing up until their early 20s or their late 20s is, thinking that they are somehow invincible. I always thought that there would be a better opportunity to get started, that there would always come another day, that there would always be another moment. But sooner or later, as it happened for me, you will be sort of punched in the gut by the reality of the situation that we are all finding ourselves in. And at that point you either get started or you throw in the towel before you made any sort of attempt at all. We as a society don't really talk that much about the concept of death. Not in any deep sense anyway. It's something that just happens when the time comes. It's not something that we really think that much about. We kind of neglect it. And some of us fear it, some of us are a bit more okay with it. But we don't really think too much about it and how it affects us and how it alters our behavior. But it is something that is pretty much always lurking in the background. And it awakens very intense emotions whenever we are forced to think about it, or if we are close to experiencing it, or somebody that we know is close to experiencing it themselves. Personally, I actually started getting pretty scared of just the thought of death when I was around maybe 20 years old. The thought of never being able to think or to feel or to experience things as myself ever again is kind of scary. And I guess I'm pretty attached to the body that I have here on this planet. Some people, they fight death into the very last bitter moment, and I've heard stories about people, clawing on the top of their lungs until their last dying breath, and honestly, terrifies me. But I also know that a lot of people don't fear it as much, and a lot of people are actually at peace with it, which gives me a lot of hope. What I've learned over the past 1 or 2 years is that you can't beat death. I know, I'm an extremely smart person. But here's the kicker, right? You can beat death in life by living. I truly believe that. Whenever I attempt new things, try and do things that people don't think capable of me, or I primarily try things that I did not think capable of myself. Whenever I do those things, go out there, being afraid but doing it anyways, is that I feel that this emotion or this feeling of being afraid of death, it sort of just dissipates. It's I'm not saying that I am completely unafraid of death because of it, but I definitely go from a place of being scared of it to a place where I feel more that it would be okay if I actually drop dead right now. And I guess it is because I am no longer in a place of constant remorse over the things that I wish I did, but that I never actually did. The conclusion of my own experiences is that I do not believe that there is such a thing as fear of death. Maybe that's naive to say, but hear me out. So, I believe that the thing that we are all fearing is dying without ever having lived, or lived enough, according to our own standards. So, the more that you neglect living, or refuse to do the things that you are afraid to do but long after doing, the more fear of death, or the more fear of dying without ever having lived, you will experience in life. Whenever I watch David Goggins, and if you haven't heard about him, you should definitely check him out. I'm sure that a lot of you out there have actually heard of him. He is the man that at every point of his day does the thing that nobody would want to do, but does it anyways, and does that to the extreme. He is always outside of his comfort zone, always enduring a lot of pain, and does it anyway. And when you hear a man like that say that if he was to drop dead right here, right now, he would be so okay with that and so at peace, that is kind of enticing to me. I also think that once I embraced death, it became one of the greatest motivators of my life. If you neglect the emotions of that fear of death and place it in a box never to be opened, you will never feel the urgency of life. For you, there will always be another moment, just as it was for me. There will always be another time, another good opportunity to do that thing. And then all of a sudden, you're going to be hit in the face by the reality of your decisions. And at that point, it might even be too late. So now I want to share with you one quote by Les Brown that is immensely powerful and really struck a deep chord inside of me, and perhaps it will do the same for you. Here it comes.
But imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed and standing around your bed, the ghost of the ideas, the dreams, the abilities, the talents given to you by life, and that you, for whatever reason, you never acted on those ideas. You never pursued that dream. You never used those talents. We never saw your leadership. You never used your voice. You never wrote that book. And there they are standing around your bed, looking at you with large, angry eyes, saying, "We came to you, and only you could have given us life. And now we must die with you forever." And the question is, if you died today, what ideas, what dreams, what abilities, what talents, what gifts will die with you?
I never feared death in the first place. I feared meeting those ghosts at my deathbed. The ghosts of the things that I wanted to do, but that I never did. I don't want the ghosts to be there when my time comes. I want to do the best of my ability to keep them away from my deathbed, so that I am truly ready when my time is ready. Now, this does not mean that you need to live a life like I am living or that David Goggins does. That is something that I have done the mistake of myself in the past, looking at other people, looking up at them and thinking that they are the shit, I want to be like them. I don't want to be like anybody anymore. I just want to be my fucking self and be the best version of myself. And that requires of you, or required of me, to really listen to myself. What is it that I want to do? Do you need to quit that job and find one that you really enjoy to be happy? Or do you need to start talking to more people and make some more friends? Perhaps you're afraid of doing that, but that is the one thing that you actually feel like you ought to do. Whatever it is, only you know what that is. Death is actually a beautiful thing. And the reason why is because it creates urgency in this life. If there was no death, the scenario that I've been telling myself would actually become true. There would always be another moment. There would always be another time, another opportunity. And I wouldn't have to get out of bed or do those things because I could always do it at another time. But the reality that we live in today is not like that. So I think it's time for us to stop pretending as if it is.